Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining for another episode of the Breakthrough Series. In this series, we take a look at entrepreneurs, we take a look at their breakthrough moments, their challenges they faced in their early life, in their career, and we reflect on what they learned. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at a life that's very special to me, a person that's really helped me out in my career in the very beginning. His name is Waylon Willoughby. He's the owner and operator of a Chick-fil-A franchise. And I'm really excited to look into his life and see what kind of challenges he faced coming to where he is today. So thank you so much, Waylon, for joining us today. I appreciate it.
I'm excited. Thank you.
So before we look into your life now and you being the owner of a franchise, can you share a little bit about what it was like for you growing up? What was childhood like? What were your aspirations? What were your goals growing up?
Sure. Yeah, so I grew up down in a little town called Townsend, Tennessee. I don't know, probably 2,000 people in the town. Grew up there. I was homeschooled for my first, I guess, up until 5th grade. And then I was kind of dumb, so I took 5th grade again. And when I went to a small Christian school in Knoxville, Tennessee, I grew up with a big family, so I had 3 siblings. My dad was a truck driver. My mom stayed at home with us, and I guess it was freshman year of high school. I realized, hey, I need a car. I want to get around places, so ended up getting a job at Chick-fil-A when I was 15 years old. So right the very beginning of freshman year of high school. At the time, I guess my aspiration, I wanted to go either into youth ministry or go into law enforcement, because I wanted to be able to help people and to make a difference in people's lives ultimately. And so that's kind of where I was leading up to the time I started working at Chick-fil-A.
Awesome. So as you were kind of transitioning from a younger child to an adult in high school, you were growing up, you said you wanted to either be in youth ministry or in law enforcement. What about it attracted you? Was it the serving people, or what did you want to do with your life?
Yeah, so I think for me, I had multiple times in my life where through youth ministry and law enforcement, I had been positively impacted, and there are some people who had made a difference in my life, and that was their career. So I was like, hey, I want to be able to make a difference in people's lives and just kind of be able to positively impact a community or a group of people, and that was kind of, in my mind, the best way to do it was, hey, if I'm going to make a difference in people's lives, I need to be doing one of those 2 careers.
Mm-hmm. And when you were going out of high school, going into college, I know some people, they have like a clear path of, I want to take this, I want to do this. Some people are they want to go more with the flow, see where life takes them. Did you have that decision made up in your mind? Because I know a lot of people going into college, even now recently graduated, they're not really sure what they're going to do. What helped you decide where you were going to take your life?
Yeah, so like I said, so when I was 16, actually I was 15, sorry, I got my first job at Chick-fil-A. So I was out mowing yards with a buddy of mine just to try to earn enough cash to buy a car. Walked into Chick-fil-A restaurant for dinner that night. He knew a couple people that worked there, so he's like, hey, let's apply here. I said, okay, why not? So I applied, and a couple weeks later I had a job there. Didn't really think it would be more than just a paycheck, and I had really no expectations at all going into it because I thought my career path was set in my mind. Mm-hmm. But very quickly getting in there, I realized, hey, I'm wanting to impact people. While I'm working with tons of youth every single day, I'm working with the general public. We're interacting every single day. And then I saw, so the guy who owned that restaurant, his name was Frankie Turner, really started to see everything I was wanting in a career he had. So the ability to influence people. He had a huge influence in my life. From the day I walked in, really I'm a 15-year-old kid, just wasn't expecting much other than a fast food restaurant. Mm-hmm. But he, firm handshake, treated me like a business partner from day one. I was never treated just like some kid there to help, but involving us in decisions and teaching us things and really speaking to us the same way I would see him speak to, the CEO of a business if he came in. Mm-hmm. So I think that was really one of the turning points for me, was realizing, hey, I can influence people here through seeing the way that Frankie did that. And then really even seeing the way that he was able to impact the community. So it was in Alcoa, Tennessee, kind of a small city. And I'm convinced even today, if Frankie were to run for mayor, he'd get it in a heartbeat. I also wondered how he ever made money because of how much food I saw him give away. So it seemed like every single day we were giving food to some need or some cause, or helping people out. And I thought it was really cool that just he used exactly what he had with him to bless people and make a difference in people's lives. And so I said, hey, this is something I could see myself doing long term. And then I even saw, hey, he's able to make a good income while doing this, and had a lot of independence over his schedule. And he didn't miss a single one of his kids' games or activities. And that was something I thought was pretty neat too, that he could, that really I've put 4 eyes on it now. So that the ability to influence people, impact people, have a good income, and then have independence. So that was really what I saw in Frankie early on. So it was probably by the time I was about 16 years old. I specifically remember I was driving with him, helping him on a catering order, and he started explaining to me the Chick-fil-A process and the low cost of entry to become a franchisee. And I said, well, I couldn't afford $500,000 for a franchise, but all he had to pay was $5,000 for a franchise. So I said, hey, that's something that's pretty attainable. And I specifically remember riding back in his truck that day saying, I think this is what I want to do. And really, since that moment was kind of when I started chasing the dream.
Could you share that process a little bit? I wanted to get back after this question to the impacting the community, but could you share a little bit about what it was like to go through the process of becoming a franchisee owner? Because there's so many people that apply every year, and Chick-fil-A is known for being very selective on who they choose. It is kind of, from the outside, looks like a bargain to try to pursue something that has a smaller chance of success because it's all based on their decision. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's definitely a very competitive process to get into Chick-fil-A. I'd heard it said before, it's harder to get into the CFA than the CIA. And so I guess it was one of those things where I knew it was going to be a long, difficult process, but from the very beginning, when I was 16, I had nothing but time. I still had to get through high school and college, and so I kind of viewed it more of a marathon than a sprint to start with. So it wasn't one of those things where I just thought, hey, I didn't think I was owed anything. I knew I would have to work for it. I knew it was going to be extremely tough, but I also knew that I had the support of a lot of people. I had Frankie had my back, and he had already helped several people become owner-operators through the course of his career. So that was something that was very encouraging going into it, gave me a lot of confidence. I also had, I think about the support of my family, and I even had, teachers at school. A few of my friends' dads were very influential, and from the very beginning, even as a 16-year-old, when I would tell them what I wanted to do, there were people in my life that didn't doubt it. They said, oh yeah, okay, of course you're going to do that. And they would talk to me about it as if it were true, and it really helped me to start kind of visualizing it myself and realizing, hey, this could actually be a reality. So I think that helped give me a lot of confidence, and also helped me stick it out when I knew, hey, when it got tough. Because I remember Friday nights I wanted to go to football games. All my friends were out at the high school football games, and I was working. I was scooping waffle fries at a Chick-fil-A, and so that wasn't very easy. When I got into college, I wanted to go see the UT Vols play because I'm a Vols fan, and same thing. I'm there on a Saturday afternoon, making chicken and serving guests, and it was one of those things where kind of having that long-term vision of where I wanted to end up was what made a lot of those short-term sacrifices seem a little bit better. And also, I think just the people I worked with made it super enjoyable. And I think, I had the privilege, Frankie took me to see Truett Cathy, the guy who founded Chick-fil-A. Got to meet him when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
And one of the first things he said to me was, hey, when you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And really, that's kind of how I felt with Chick-fil-A the whole time. Was I love what I'm doing. I love the people I'm working with, whether it's our team members, whether it's guests, whether it's vendors we're working with. And to me, it's never really felt like work. There's some days where I kind of want to rip my hair out of my head, but I think that kind of gave me motivation all along. It's just I love what I'm doing. I love the people I'm with, and it felt more like a calling than an actual job. So back to the actual process, I had those things motivating me and helping me get through it, and it was I guess the way I viewed it was every single day I was working, I was preparing to become an owner-operator. So I was, sure it was Frankie's store that I was running, but I would treat it as if it was my own. When he wasn't there, I was saying, hey, like, is this a decision he would make? Is this going to be the best for the business, the best for the people? And he had a pretty clear vision that, hey, we're in the chicken business, we're in the people business, we just happen to sell chicken. And so it was kind of this idea of, I knew ultimately I was there to take care of the guests and take care of the team, and Frankie had my back if I was making a decision that aligned with that. And so I did that for 8 years, so all throughout high school, all throughout college, and worked my way from a team member to a trainer to a team leader on the team. And by the time I left there, I was an assistant manager. While in college, actually met my wife Jamie there, so we worked together. That was really fun. So when I graduated the University of Tennessee, I had spent 8 years at that point working for Frankie, and I joined what was called Chick-fil-A's interim manager program. So this was a program where I would temporarily run company-operated restaurants while Chick-fil-A was finding a new franchisee. So, example, my first assignment, there was a man in Oklahoma owned 2 Chick-fil-A restaurants, and he actually passed away. So I went out and I filled in there for a month while Chick-fil-A was in the process of finding a new franchisee. My next assignment, I went down to Brandon, Florida. There was a mall Chick-fil-A there. The owner-operator there had relocated up to Idaho, so I was helping temporarily run that restaurant while they found a new franchisee for it. So during that 18-month period, Jamie and I think we were in 10 different cities during 18 months, just kind of traveling around and temporarily on these assignments. And it was really cool because we got to run Chick-fil-A's, make mistakes, learn things, and it was all on Chick-fil-A's dime, because if I made a mistake, they were paying for it, which was pleasant for me. But learned a lot during that 18-month period. And during that was when I started the interview process and started interviewing to become an actual franchisee, which is anybody will tell you is a very long, drawn-out process with Chick-fil-A, but I think it's, part of why they select the people they do. And so we began interviewing in, I guess, June of 2013, and ended up getting selected for Chick-fil-A Market of Hilliard in February of 2014, and became the owner there in May of 2014. So that's really kind of a brief snapshot of what the process looks like.
How many years was that from the time you started working at Chick-fil-A to when you became an owner?
Let's see, so I guess about 10 years total.
10 years,
so.
Wow. I think that really shows one important principle. Nowadays, a lot of people, they want something quick. They want results fast. And I think what I noticed right away when you mentioned your story is you had the long-term vision right away. You had your laser focus, I want to do this, and you were willing to do whatever it takes. Could you share a little bit about, from my perspective, it seems like one thing that might have separated you from other people is from the very start, you weren't chasing money as a priority, you were chasing serving people and impacting the community. And do you think that was a impacting factor in having you chosen as an owner?
I'm sure it was among several things, for sure. So I think for me the big thing from the very beginning was just having, like you said, having that long-term focus. Because I guess I was 25 years old when I became an owner-operator, and I can't tell you how many times there were people who'd be like, "Oh my gosh, well, you're so young, and you just got this overnight. Wow, you've got." It was this idea of being an overnight success, I guess, which was humbling, because I was like, wow, I'm very grateful for where I'm at. I'm very thankful for this. But at the same time, I don't think what a lot of people realize is, hey, I've been really focused on my career since I was 15 years old. So it didn't seem overnight at all to me. It seemed like the culmination of 10 years of work, 10 years of
many long nights.
Yeah, exactly, of working till 11 o'clock p.m. and then waking up for class in the morning, and so it was definitely a lot of hard work. But I would say to sum it up, was just kind of having this long-term vision of where I wanted to be, and that was what helped focus those short-term decisions.
the actual slogan or mission statement of Chick-fil-A is a very unique mission statement, because if you read it, it has nothing to do with food at all. And you, like mentioned earlier, you're in the hospitality business and the people business, you just happen to sell chicken. Could you share a little bit about what that means to you and what that slogan is? Because when you say you impact the community, you can impact the community in various ways, but there's different ways to do that. So how would you do that, and what does it mean to you?
Sure. So you're referring to our corporate purpose, I'm assuming,
Yes.
which is to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that's entrusted to us and to have a positive influence on everyone who comes in contact with Chick-fil-A. So, yeah, for me, that was one of the first things that really brought me into being a part of this company, and what attracted me to it was, like you said, it was more than just selling chicken. Because at the end of the day, my passion is not necessarily just selling food to people. I enjoy that, but I get passionate about, I get fired up about making a difference in people's lives, and this idea of, hey, for me, it's important to be able to, whatever I'm doing in life, to glorify God. So my life purpose that I've just kind of put together for myself is I want to glorify God, and I want to help other people do the same thing. And so, I believe no matter what career I'm in, that needs to be the focus of what I'm doing. And so being able to be a part of a company where that lines up so well was, very attractive to me. So we also want to be faithful stewards of everything we have. So to me, that's, first and foremost, that starts with the people that work for me. I have 146 team members right now that I feel like I'm supposed to steward. So what I'm always thinking about is, when I make this decision, how is that not only impacting those 146 people, but they each have a family. Some of them have kids, some of them have, siblings, parents they're living with, spouses. And so for me, I want to be able to faithfully steward those relationships God's given me, and make sure that every decision we're doing here is going to impact them the best. Then there's also the relationships we have with our guests, with people in the community that, I have a big burden for even the other businesses that are affected by us. We have, probably 25 to 40 different vendors that are a part of helping make sure that our business is working, just that I can think off right offhand. And so, for me, excellence is very important, because the more successful we are as a business, the more all of those people are impacted, not just financially, but, their whole lives are affected by that. So I think that's really important to me. And then, that last part of it, to have a positive influence on everyone who comes in contact with Chick-fil-A. I think one of the really unique things about a restaurant and why I like being a part of it is every single person has to eat, 3 times a day at least, right? So I think that's one of the cool things about the business is, everybody has to eat. And it kind of puts everybody on the same playing field too, right? Like, it doesn't matter where you're from, anything about you, like, everybody has to eat. And so the cool part about that is we get to deal with and work with such a wide variety of people every single day. And really just kind of, to me, it's a unifying thing. Like, hey, we're sitting down eating with people is always a unifying thing. I also love the fact that we're a restaurant. So it's this idea of, a restaurant is a place of restoration. So, someone can be having the absolute worst day of their life. They come in here and they get to sit down and be restored, and we get to help serve them. Someone can be having the best day of their life. They can come in and we can celebrate with them. And so it's really kind of just a unique opportunity to be able to serve people. So that's really one of the things I love about.
I don't think you're the only one. Anybody that talks about Chick-fil-A, for the most part that I know of, they're overwhelmingly surprised with how kind everyone is. Your not catchphrase, but your popular use of the word "my pleasure," it really, like you said, rejuvenates almost the soul, because you come here and it's like coming into a whole new world. Everybody's kind to you, and it reminds me of the scripture where it says, "Whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do for the glory of God." And I think that Chick-fil-A has been a good example to the Christian, not only the Christian community, but the whole world, that you're not just living for yourself. Chick-fil-A doesn't exist to make as much money as possible, but it's ultimately for the glory of God. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Chick-fil-A is per location the most profitable restaurant in the USA. I don't think it's a coincidence at all, and every time I see it, it's just like, wow, God's glorified.
Yeah, that's cool.
So could you share a little bit about the day-to-day things that maybe somebody might not know about a Chick-fil-A owner that they face, something that might be interesting to them?
Interesting. Oh, gosh, I don't even know what that would be. Well, I mean, I would say one of the skills I have that I've had to develop out of force is, I have 146 people on the team. A lot of them are in high school, a lot of them are in college, and I've definitely acquired the skill of being able to listen to 4 different conversations at once and participate at them at the same time. So I'll have, one person's talking to me, 2 other people come in and want to say something else, and a 4th person comes in, and it's just kind of, you have to learn how to do all of that at once, I guess. So that's probably the biggest skill I've had to acquire over the years. But aside from that, I don't know. I guess it's probably not that interesting.
So I know you recently, you said you were at the Market of Hilliard, and then not too long ago you moved over here to Polaris, to a new location. Going on from there, where do you see yourself in the future? Because you spent a better part of your life training to be an operator, but now you have been for some time. What does your life look like in the future? What do you want to accomplish even further on? What are you aspiring to now?
Sure. Yeah, so when I mentioned kind of my life purpose is I want to glorify God and help other people do the same. One of the major career goals I'd had from, like I said, the time I was 15 or 16 was to become an owner-operator and do that. And so, 25, got my first restaurant. Here 6 years later, I am, have moved to my second restaurant. It's, a second, I don't have 2 now. I have this one, Polaris. But, I think to me it's all about building a legacy from this point on. So, I think back to Frankie, who I had worked for. I believe I was the 10th person that he had helped either become an owner or operator or work at Chick-fil-A's corporate office. And then in addition to that, I think about so many people who've gone into so many different careers and can point back to Frankie and say, hey, my time spent working there helped prepare me for, my time as a nurse or my time as a teacher or whatever career they went to. There were things and skills they learned there because Frankie was very intentional about developing people, whether they wanted to pursue a career at Chick-fil-A or anywhere else. And so I think that's what excites me the most and gets me fired up about the future is when I think about, the people who work for me now and the potential they have and where they can be and how we can be a part of getting them to where they want to be. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I have a handful of people who have been with me all 6 years, and being able to look at, where they were as a person when they, in 2014 and where they are as a person now, and seeing growth and people reaching goals they'd set. And I think that's what really gets me excited. So when I think about my career, it's, growing my organization, whether that's, becoming a multi-unit operator would be a goal, or, really, to me, though, it's all about being able to increase that influence. And, if I own a second restaurant, then that's all the more people that we can impact, both in that restaurant, customers that are a part of it, and everything. So to me, it's just kind of growing the influence and the impact and being able to help people get where they want to go.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something very rare to find nowadays. A lot of people, a lot of their goals in the future is something I want to do for myself. I want to do this for myself. But when you, like you mentioned, you seek ways to serve other people, whether the community around Chick-fil-A or even investing in the team members you have, I think they'll be very thankful, like you are to Frankie, that he invested so much time in you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times that can sound like this super selfless thing to do, but I think it was Zig Ziglar perhaps who said, the more you help people get what they want, the more you'll find you've found what you want. I think Jesus in Acts, maybe, you don't quote me on that, said, it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. And I think it's easy to say those things, but when you actually take it and put it into practice, and I've just found even financially, if I give someone a gift, I tend to feel a lot better longer than if I were to buy myself something. I don't know if that's the same with everyone. It's just that's something I've found. So I mean, even helping someone get to where they want to go, I just feel like it creates those whatever chemicals it shoots off in your brain. It feels good, and it's a so I don't think it's entirely selfless. I think there's benefits just from a health and well-being standpoint to helping other people get what they want. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. So I wanted to ask you, where you are now, looking back to your younger self, what would you advise, maybe going back to when you were 15, what would you give to somebody like that? What kind of advice would you give them, or to yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to tell me to say to do anything differently, because I'm happy where I am now, and I wouldn't want to change that. But I think kind of the one thing, like I mentioned, that really helped get me through it was just saying, hey, like, have that clear picture of the future, that vision of where you want to go. And, I guess the more long-term your vision is, the better your short-term decisions will be. So,
because they guide your short-term decisions, like even the mission statement.
Yeah,
guide
exactly.
your short-term day-to-day decisions.
Right. So if I know, hey, this is where I want to be in 10 years from now, that's going to help me really look at, is what I'm doing now lining me up for where I want to be. I think about even if it's my physical health right now. So in 20 years, if I've got, let's say I have grandkids at that point, and I want to still be able to be out playing with them in the yard, or still be involved in playing volleyball, things I like to do. If I want to be physically fit enough to do that, and that's important enough to me, that's going to affect what I'm eating today. I probably won't grab that extra bag of Doritos, or it's when I have to go out and run and it's 30 degrees outside and not the most ideal situation to do it. Having that long-term goal of where I want to go helps make that decision a little bit easier, I think. So I think focus on the end game of where you want to go, and make sure it's a compelling vision, compelling enough to actually make you make changes in the short term. So.
Mm-hmm. So I want to do one last thing, and it's a little word game I play.
Okay.
And the way it works is I just name off a couple words, one at a time, and all you have to do is just say the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Can it be a phrase, a paragraph?
Phrase or word or first thought.
Okay.
So the first word is family.
So I think of Jamie and Cade and Mackenzie and our next baby on the way coming in June. So.
Foundation.
Foundation. For me, I would just say my relationship with Christ is just kind of the foundation of everything I'm doing, because, ultimately, I've mentioned my life purpose. If I'm not doing that, then I'm kind of not on the right foundation.
Legacy.
Legacy. Oh man, I just instantly thought of Frankie when you said that, because I think that's somebody who might not make it in the history books. You probably you're not going to read a news story about him today, but he's one person in one town doing what he's supposed to be doing, and what God's plan for him, and has made an impact on my life. I think about anybody who I'm impacting as a result of how he's impacted me. So I think it's kind of cool that you don't have to be some household name to be leaving a legacy.
I think one interesting thing is that God measures differently than what we measure. We look at somebody and say, oh, he's successful, he's doing great things, but God also notices the person that's doing more humble things that aren't as noticeable, but he still rewards them greatly.
That's true.
So last two words, failure.
Failure, probably me, because I can think of all the many, many, many times I have failed a lot of things. So.
Is it important or no?
I would like to not as much, but I've definitely learned a lot from it, and I would like to feel less still. But
and the last word is money.
Money. I don't know, green. That's the first thing that came to mind when you said it. But yeah, I think just also magnifier probably. I think it was Dave Ramsey said money's a magnifier. It's not going to fix your problems. It's not going to make them. What money's going to do is it's going to magnify what's ever already there. So, if you take a marriage and you're having a lot of problems and you throw a lot of money in the marriage, you're going to have more marriage problems. If you have a, healthy marriage and you guys are generous, then, you throw a lot more money at it and suddenly now you're going to be extremely generous. So I think money just magnifies whatever's already existing there.
Reveals who you truly are.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Waylon. I appreciate you joining me for the Breakthrough Podcast. It's an amazing story, and I wish you all the best. God bless you.
Well, thanks for having me.